Vietnam. A land of endless rice fields. A land of deep spirituality. A land where memory meets future. While the rest of the world sleeps, there's a country awakening. The clock strikes 5 a.m., and life bursts into the streets. Welcome to Vietnam, a country where time flows differently and where contradictions have been transformed into magic. From dawn, elderly people practice Tai Chi in urban parks, while night markets dissolve like mist, giving way to open-air cafes, where the aroma of coffee mingles with the first warm rays of sunlight. And speaking of coffee, few know that these lands hold a secret. Vietnam is the world's second largest coffee producer, second only to Brazil. Every drop that falls from the traditional fin filter is a fusion of East and West, a tale of colonialism transformed into tradition. From above, the country reveals itself as a mosaic of green and gold. Rice paddies stretch as far as the eye can see, producing an incredible 45 million tons of rice annually. In the north, they defy gravity, climbing mountains in dizzying terraces. In the south, in the Mekong Delta, land and water unite in an endless embrace, creating landscapes that seem painted by a divine artist. But Vietnam is a land of duality. While the North experiences 4 seasons, the South has only 2. This climatic division has shaped not only the landscape, but also the architecture, with elegant stilt houses in the south and sturdy stone dwellings in the north. In this country, every word can be pronounced in 6 different tones. A single sound, modified in intonation, can take on completely different meanings. That's why ma becomes mother when pronounced in one tone and ghost when pronounced in another. Every conversation is a musical composition where intonation is fundamental to being understood. Moreover, cultural diversity pulses in the heart of this nation through 54 distinct ethnic groups. From the misty mountain peaks to the sun-kissed coastal plains, each population jealously guards its own heritage of traditions, languages, and customs. Speaking of traditions, every Vietnamese city tells its story through its distinctive local markets. For instance, Hanoi is famous for its ancient Dong Xuan market, where stalls wind through century-old alleys. Hoi An enchants with its dawn fish market, while Sapa amazes with its ethnic minority market where Hmong women sell their handcrafted goods. During the early morning hours, these markets transform the streets into a living kaleidoscope of colors, fragrances, and voices, and each stall tells the story of the city it represents. Another tradition is that every Vietnamese home has a prayer altar. Incense rises toward photographs of ancestors, while bowls of fresh fruit and steaming rice wait to be offered. Here, 3 generations kneel together, whispering prayers that keep the dialogue between past and present alive. In this mix of culture and tradition, cuisine emerges as a perfect meeting of 5 flavors. Like a master composing his work, every Vietnamese cook balances sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and spicy, creating dishes that are true gustatory works of art. From steaming pho, to crispy banh mi, to delicate goi kun, every bite is a journey through centuries of culinary history. This is Vietnam. Not just a destination, but a journey through time, senses, and soul. Now, let us visit its most beautiful and iconic places. Ha Long Bay. In the Tonkin Gulf, over 1,600 limestone islands emerge from the waters. This marine labyrinth, born 500 million years ago, encompasses a world where time seems to have stood still. The rock formations rise vertically from the depths, creating a jagged horizon that stretches as far as the eye can see. The caves hidden in the bowels of these stone towers preserve the secrets of ancient civilizations. Millennial stalactites hang from the ceilings like fossils, while floating fishing villages still pass down traditions that withstand the passage of generations. Among these jade-colored waters, traditional junks glide silently, carrying visitors through marine canyons, where light creates shadow plays on the vertical walls. At dawn and dusk, when the sun kisses the water's surface, the bay transforms into a mirror reflecting the sky. A few kilometers away, we find Lan Ha Bay, revealing a more intimate face of this aquatic paradise. Here, far from tourist routes, nature reigns supreme. The sea stacks covered in tropical vegetation host rare golden-haired langur monkeys, while sea eagles soar majestically above the waters, where corals and tropical fish swim undisturbed. Dalat. At 1,500 meters altitude, this city emerges from the mist. French colonial architecture, with its characteristic pastel-colored facades and sloping roofs, tells stories of an imperial past, while the bizarre, crazy house defies every architectural convention with its dreamlike forms. Hidden waterfalls plunge into deep valleys, where centuries-old pine forests create a unique microclimate in Southeast Asia. Arabica coffee plantations climb the terrace slopes, giving the world one of the continent's finest coffees. The ancient Buddhist pagodas, with their curved roofs and golden decorations, preserve centuries of spiritual tradition, while fragrant incense and monks' chants create an atmosphere of deep serenity that permeates the entire city. In the evening, the night market comes alive along the downtown streets, where Vietnamese street food and local crafts attract residents and visitors seeking the authentic Vietnamese essence. Da Nang. Between the Marble Mountains and the South China Sea, the city of Da Nang writes a story of contrasts. Night transforms the city's bridges into serpents of light, with the Dragon Bridge breathing real fire on weekends, while the Han Bridge illuminates with colors that shimmer on the river's waters. The Marble Mountains, 5 peaks emerging from the coastal plain, hide temples carved into rock. It's here that Buddhist monks pray in natural caves, where incense rises toward openings that filter rays of light. During the war, these tunnels served as refuge and hospital. The Tra Peninsula, meanwhile, preserves 30 square kilometers of primordial rainforest. Red-shanked dukelangers exist only here, moving among branches while the sea beats against eroded cliffs. Nearby, Nha-Ke beaches stretch for 30 kilometers. The waves that today attract surfers from around the world are the same ones that witnessed the arrival of the first American Marines in 1965. Mekong Delta. The Mekong River concludes its 500-kilometer journey here, splitting into 9 branches that locals call the 9 Dragons. It's a water labyrinth where land and river merge in an ecosystem that nourishes 17 million people. The floating markets of Phan Rang come alive before dawn. Hundreds of boats gather in an aquatic dance, exchanging fruit, vegetables, and stories. Each vessel carries a pole with its product hanging from it, such as a pineapple, a cabbage, a pumpkin, like living signs of millennial trade. The mangrove forests, meanwhile, create a submerged world, where roots emerge from the mud. Hanoi. In northern Vietnam, Hanoi encapsulates centuries of history in its streets. The old city divides into 36 streets, each dedicated to a different craft. Here, artisans still work wood, forge iron, and create jewelry as their ancestors did. In the heart of this maze of alleys, a train rushes through twice daily, brushing past houses and shops on a street so narrow that residents must pull in their stools and displayed goods at the sound of the bell. Huan Kim Lake dominates the city center, with the Turtle Tower at its heart. In the Temple of Literature, instead, students still touch the stone turtles' heads today, hoping for luck in their exams. On the streets, vendors prepare pho in huge steaming pots, while people eat seated on small blue stools, talking and laughing. In the French Quarter, old colonial buildings now house modern cafes and restaurants. In the evening, thousands of motorbikes fill the streets, and headlights illuminate the city as people return home. Hanoi never stops, mixing old with new in every corner of its streets. Hoi An. In this ancient Vietnamese port city, lanterns dominate every corner and alley. By day, expert hands weave bamboo and colored silk, creating spheres and shapes that hang from shops. But thousands of lanterns await sunset, resting under the curved roofs of merchant houses. When the sun disappears, the city transforms. The lanterns light up one after another. Red, yellow, blue, and green. They illuminate the stone streets, reflecting in the dark waters of the Thu Bon River. Their glow bounces off ancient walls, painting even the old Japanese bridge with magic. The night market comes alive under this sky of lights. Vendors arrange their wares while the aroma of street food fills the air. Small boats glide on the river, carrying visitors who release floating lanterns into the water, feeding a tradition that has continued for centuries. Hoi An isn't just a city. It's a festival of light that repeats every night. Hue. Vietnam's last imperial city awakens within the walls of the citadel. The perfume river divides this world in two, the present on one side and a past of emperors and concubines on the other, still echoing among the purple pavilions. In the heart of the citadel, 13 Nguyen emperors ruled Vietnam for 143 years. Dragons stand out on the roofs while phoenixes watch over courtyards where once only the emperor could walk. The imperial mausoleums emerge from the jungle like miniature cities, and Tu Duc's tomb occupies an area as large as a modern city. The pagoda of the Celestial Lady, meanwhile, rises 7 stories high. Each level represents a reincarnation, while the river flows below, like a serpent carrying the secrets of a vanished dynasty. Dao Islands. 185 kilometers from the mainland, 16 islands emerge from the South China Sea. Dao holds 2 faces, with paradise and hell intertwined. Here stood Indochina's most feared prison, built by French colonizers in 1862, and later used by American and South Vietnamese forces. Its cells housed over 20,000 prisoners, many of whom were independence activists and political dissidents. In the cells, graffiti left by inmates tell stories of suffering and resistance. The tiger cages were tiny isolation cells where prisoners were forced into inhuman conditions and remain as testimony to the brutality of the prison regime. The natural aspect of the island, however, sees sea turtles laying eggs on beaches where prisoners once dreamed of freedom. Rainforest covers 85% of the archipelago, and dugongs, Vietnam's last specimens, graze underwater, while long-tailed macaques jump between the branches of century-old trees. Phu Quoc Island. Off the Cambodian coast, Phu Quoc emerges from the Gulf of Thailand. The national park occupies more than half the island, and primordial forests hide 1,164 plant species and streams that spring from rocks. A cable car soars over the sea for almost 8 kilometers, connecting the main island to 3 smaller ones. Glass cabins offer spectacular views of the archipelago, floating 100 meters above turquoise waters. In the heart of the main city, Duongdong, the Dinkow Temple rises on a rocky spur, a sanctuary dedicated to the sea goddess, offering spiritual shelter to fishermen. The city develops ever more rapidly between luxury resorts and large shopping centers, while keeping alive the traditional night market, where fishermen sell their daily catch. Here, the aroma of berries mingles with the sea breeze, creating a fragrance signature unique in the world. Cang Chai. In northern Vietnam, Cang Chai's rice terraces climb the mountains like steps to heaven. The Hmong, an ethnic minority who have inhabited these lands for centuries, have transformed the slopes into living works of art that change color with the seasons. In May, the water in the rice paddies reflects the sky like thousands of mirrors. June brings the intense green of young plants, while September tints the terraces gold when the rice is ready for harvest. Clouds play with the mountains, casting shadows on the terraces that extend for 2,200 hectares. Farmers work these vertical fields with techniques passed down through generations. Life here follows the rhythm of the rains, with the Hmong reading the sky and predicting the weather. Mui Ne. The wind shapes Mui Ne's red desert into a landscape that defies the logic of tropical Vietnam. Sand dunes move like waves, creating a miniature Sahara facing the South China Sea. The fishing village wakes before dawn, with hundreds of round boats dotting the coast. They are woven bamboo baskets covered in resin. The Red Cliffs, meanwhile, tell almost 2 million years of geological history through layers of colored rock. Wind and rain finally sculpt miniature canyons, while hidden streams create oases where coconut palms grow. Ninh Binh. Limestone temples emerge from rice paddies. This place, Vietnam's ancient capital, tells a story where land and water meet. At Tam Coc, the river flows between rock formations that touch the sky, and rowers guide boats using their feet, a technique passed down through centuries. The rhythm of oars mingles with the song of waterbirds nesting in the caves. The Bích Dong Temple climbs 3 mountain levels, and each floor reveals caves where Buddhist monks have meditated for generations. At Trang An, finally, the river flows through 31 valleys and 48 caves, and boats glide under stone arches so low that passengers must lie down. Phong Nha Bang. In central Vietnam's heart, time has carved the world's largest cave system. Phong Nha conceals 126 kilometers of underground tunnels, where rivers flow in eternal darkness. The Sun Dung Cave could contain a New York skyscraper. Its vaults open into sinkholes, where jungle grows underground, creating an ecosystem that defies nature's laws. Underground rivers have shaped some chambers as large as cathedrals. New caves continue to form in the depth's silence, while researchers still discover unexplored passages. Each expedition reveals new mysteries in this three-dimensional labyrinth, where water continues to sculpt stone in an endless work. Saigon, or Ho Chi Minh City. Saigon's glass towers challenge the sky, while in District 1, the Reunification Palace stands majestic. Its gates, crossed by tanks in 1975, today welcome tourists. Ben Thon Market, meanwhile, has pulsed in the city's heart since 1914, with a maze of stalls where over 3,000 vendors offer goods from across Vietnam. The city moves to the rhythm of over 8 million inhabitants and 7 million scooters, swarming between French colonial boulevards and ultra-modern skyscrapers. Finally, the Cu Chi underground city extends for 250 kilometers. These tunnels, 80 centimeters high, tell a story of war fought in darkness. Across 3 different depth levels, they housed field hospitals, kitchens, weapons depots, and even a theater to entertain soldiers during the long years of conflict. Sapa rice terraces. Northern Vietnam's mountains transform into staircases to the sky. Sapa's rice terraces extend for hundreds of kilometers, shaped by centuries of work by the Hmong and Dao people. Water flows from one level to another in an irrigation system created 2,000 years ago. The terraces follow the mountain's natural contours, creating a living mosaic that changes color with the seasons. Mount Fansipan, Indochina's roof, watches over this human landscape from 3,143 meters high. Hmong villages dot the heights, and women, dressed in hand-dyed indigo clothes, work the fields using techniques passed down through generations. Each family guards a piece of this green canvas that covers the mountains up to the clouds. Mai Chau Valley. Among northern Vietnam's mountains, a valley opens like a hidden treasure chest. Mai Chau reveals a world where the white Thai people have lived in harmony with the land for over 700 years. Bamboo and wooden stilt houses rise from rice fields. Built 2 meters above ground, they protect from monsoon rains, while the space underneath hosts weaving looms and poultry. Thai women indeed weave multicolored fabrics on traditional looms, transforming cotton and silk into patterns that tell stories of mountains and rivers. Water, moreover, flows through an ancient system of canals that nourishes the rice fields. At sunset, when fog descends from the mountains, village lights shine in the valley like stars fallen from the sky. Cao Bang. Cao Bang reveals a landscape where water has shaped rock for millennia. The Banjiok waterfalls thunder from 30 meters high, creating rainbows in the mist. Water flows through limestone terraces, forming natural pools where life thrives. The Khe Sun River flows between mountains, marking the border with China through valleys rich with rice paddies. Ethnic minority villages dot the valleys, with traditions that survive the passage of time. Here, women still weave cloth on primitive looms, while men cultivate rice, following the lunar calendar. Tra Peninsula. North of Da Nang, a peninsula emerges from the sea like the last outpost of Vietnamese jungle. Sun Tra preserves 30 square kilometers of forest, where time flows following ancestral rhythms. Red-shanked langurs exist only here, moving among tree branches. Only 60 specimens survive in this natural sanctuary, where each dawn could be the last for this species. The Lady Buddha statue soars 67 meters high at the peninsula's highest point. The banyan tree, which is 800 years old, extends its roots like tentacles, while its branches have offered shelter to generations of monks, soldiers, and travelers. Mang Thit village. Among the Mekong Delta's curves emerges a village where generations of artisans shape river clay, transforming it into red bricks that build entire cities. Traditional kilns stand like watchtowers while smoke rises to the sky. For 200 years, master craftsmen's hands have repeated the same gestures, extracting clay from the river, pressing it into molds, baking it in kilns. The village lives and breathes through these kilns, which never go out. The village produces over 1 million bricks monthly, yet maintains the rhythms of a bygone era, where each piece is still checked by hand. My Sun Sanctuary. In the heart of Vietnamese jungle, 70 temples hide among vegetation. A lost kingdom of the Champa, built stone by stone over 1,000 years. Towers rise toward the sky, while dawn reveals carvings telling stories of gods and kings. The temples were built without mortar, with each stone block fitting perfectly with others, supporting each other. The red bricks, fired using a technique still unknown today, resist time and weather, while archaeologists and historians try to decipher inscriptions that might reveal construction secrets. Vinh Hy Bay. In the South China Sea, Vinh Hy's waters reveal an underwater world. The bay hides among Nui Chua National Park's mountains where sea meets rock. Beneath the surface, corals create the perfect place where thousands of tropical fish swim among currents. Local fishermen on their hand-woven bamboo baskets pass down ancestral fishing techniques, while rock formations emerge from the sea, sculpted by millennia of waves and wind. Life in the bay continues as it has for centuries, in a rhythm dictated by tides and seasons. Ha Giang. In the northernmost point of Vietnam, where mountains touch the sky, Ha Giang reveals its secrets. Paths wind through mountain passes that brush against clouds, while the Nha-Ke River cuts through rock, creating deep gorges. On the slopes, Hmong and Dao minorities cultivate buckwheat, transforming mountains into fields that shift colors with the seasons. Women wear hand-woven traditional clothes, dyeing fabrics with indigo grown in the valleys. In villages, rammed earth houses protect from winter cold, while weekly markets gather people who walk for hours to trade goods. Here, time still follows the rhythm of seasons and harvests. Phan Rang. In the land of the Cham, the arid coast meets the sea. Phan Rang rises between sand dunes and grape plantations, the only place in Vietnam where vineyards thrive under the sun. Fishermen cast their nets at dawn, following centuries-old techniques. Salt flats stretch across the coast, where salt harvesters work from dawn following the rhythm of the tides. In fishing villages, traditional houses shield from the sun with woven palm roofs, and the Cham people keep traditions alive through ritual dances and ancient songs. Concluding this visual journey through Vietnam, we've moved from the charm of its most stirring lands to the most celebrated icons of its cities and provinces, discovering together not just places, but also curiosities that make every corner of this country unique. We hope these images and stories have enriched your knowledge and sparked your desire to personally explore the diverse beauty of this ancient nation.